Because there's no COVID. It's a fake pandemic created to destroy the United States of America.
But the president said to Bob Woodward that there is a virus, the coronavirus, and that it is deadly.
That's his opinion. The truth is that the CDC said there's only less than 10,000 people die from COVID. The other 190,000 have 2.6 or 2.8 other mortalities.
All right, let's keep talking about this. I'm ready. So let's say you have COPD. You're walking around, you get COVID, you get an exacerbation of your COPD so bad you go in the hospital, the inflammation in your lungs gets really bad, you need to be intubated, you go to the ICU, you develop acute respiratory distress syndrome, you develop respiratory failure, and you die. In this example, COVID is the cause of death because without the COVID, none of that sequence of events would have happened leading to the patient's death. Now would be a good time to distinguish between mechanism versus cause of death because a lot of people in my comments are getting those two very confused. So the cause of death is the disease or injury that initiates a chain of events, brief or prolonged, which produces a fatal outcome. In this case, that would be the COVID. Mechanism of death is the physiologic derangement incompatible with continued life produced by the cause of death. In this case, that would be the respiratory failure. And by your logic, we should call up the CDC right now and tell them to cancel all cancer deaths because people don't die of cancer, they die of intracerebral hemorrhage from brain metastases or pulmonary emboli from hypercoagulable states of malignancy or sepsis from prolonged immunosuppression. But we don't do that because without the cancer, none of that would have happened and they wouldn't have died. You picking up what I'm putting down?
I saw a statistic come out the other day talking about only 6% of the people actually died from COVID, which is a very interesting, that they die from
well, they had
reasons.
Comorbidities, which you've gotten criticized for because there are comorbidities, as the Italians showed, for every COVID death. I think it was 70-something% had 2 or 3 comorbidities. But the COVID might ultimately have been the key morbidity to hit them, but bottom line
But it's an interesting statistic.
If you look at the people who died of COVID disease, the point that the CDC was trying to make was that a certain percentage of them had nothing else but just COVID. That does not mean that someone who has hypertension or diabetes who dies of COVID didn't die of COVID-19. They did. So the numbers that you've been hearing, the 180,000 plus deaths, are real deaths from COVID-19. Let there not be any confusion about that. It's not 9,000 deaths from COVID-19. It's 180 plus thousand deaths.